So let's talk about these Blue Note reissues. You know, I mean, apparently they've been done a couple of times,
Yes.
and you've decided that you want to do them again. I think you want to reach a slightly different audience than the audiophile audience.
Yeah, I want to be really clear about this.
Yeah.
This is not aimed at audiophiles.
Right.
We have some great, the stuff that Music Matters does. It's fantastic, man. I don't even know how they maintain that kind of quality, which I've been intimately involved in the process for 35 years.
Right.
And you can see it through to a certain point, but you really can't control, what the guys at the presses do.
There's so many variables that when a record comes that good, it is miraculous.
So the audiophile versions of the Blue Note things are great, and we never meant to compete with that.
Good, because a lot of them are upset that they felt that you were saying that theirs were not right.
No,
and that,
they're fantastic.
Okay, good.
They're great. Yeah,
That's good. I'm glad you said that, because they are fantastic.
No, I love them, and I own them too.
Yeah. And the pictures inside are wonderful too.
Yeah, no, it's
This is for a different audience, though.
It's a different audience. But this latest reissue series came about because I was at the NARM show a year ago. And let me just shut the door.
Sure.
Sorry. So I was at the NARM show a year ago, and I sat down when Michael Kurtz introduced me to a table full of independent record store owners. And I said, what can Blue Note do to help you? And they said, well, the audiophile things are great, $50. Box sets are great, $200.
Right.
But what we really need is something so that a new music fan coming into the store who sees a Blue Note cover and doesn't maybe know who Eric Dolphy is, sees the Out to Lunch cover and says, I'm curious about this record.
Right.
So they can afford to buy it. Now, when I was a teenager in Detroit in the 1960s, buying Blue Note records, they were, like $4 for stereo, $3.
Yeah, or $4.98 or $3.98 for mono, $4.98 for stereo, right?
Exactly, yeah. So, if you account for inflation, that's something like $40.
Yeah, it was not inexpensive.
It was not inexpensive, and I couldn't afford to buy it. So I remember what that was like, and I remember going to record stores, and I mean that's why I wanted to gig at Blue Note, because it takes me right back to 1966.
Sure.
I was too young to drive, but we'd ride a city bus across Detroit, because every record store was owned by a different person who ordered according to their taste.
That's right.
A store across town might have a whole other lineup of Blue Note records. So we'd ride a bus for 45 minutes, just a whole Larry Young unity.
Oh, that's one of my favorite records.
It's amazing, isn't it? That's in our first 5.
Yeah, that is one of the most.
Hey, look, here's the. It's got the artwork back on it. Oh, that's free for all. That's what it's going to be. So, plus, look at this. We've redone the inner sleeve that used to be there, and so one side is new releases, and one side is an exact copy, but it's in blue, and it's just 75 years.
Great.
So we took great care in every aspect of this thing.
Right, that's nice.
Yeah, and the idea is it sells for less than $20,
right?
Which is a real hard thing to do.
I know.
So I'm not trying to pass it off as audiophile to anybody, but I was really trying to accommodate the independent record store owners, and they wanted a low-cost way to get people to hear this music,
right?
And I feel that's our responsibility. I'm really proud of this. I defy anyone to give better value.
Well, let's see what the pressings come out like. That's the key, because I know where you're doing them, and
I go back and forth. I check test pressings on Wayne Shorter's Speak No Evil, which is very, quality control is very important.
Yes.
You can't control everything. You put these little black balls in there, and God knows what's in there. You can't stand there and monitor everyone.
You can only look at the test pressings and then pull a record every so often and look at what they're doing.
I took a test pressing. I took the acetate of Speak No Evil. I took which was done over at Speak No Evil was done at Grunman's.
Yeah, Chris said he's cutting some of these. Yeah, he's one of the best guys.
He's great.
Yeah.
So I took that, and what would I say? I have my original vinyl from
the Rudy Van Gelder.
Yeah, I have the one I bought in 1969.
Yeah,
so it's still like that one. It's got that's the sticker from when I was in high school.
And those are unbelievable. They still sound great.
They sound great.
Yeah,
and I have
the tapes are fresh.
2008s.
Yeah,
I have all the different versions of it, and I also have the 96K.
The transfers that were done here, right?
Yeah, which I'm happy to talk about. and I just A/B them with my eyes. You know, it's unmarked, which is the process we use. Always, it's all blindfold test. Someone sets it up,
right.
and I just sit at a console and go back and forth. And these new pressings fared pretty well.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not saying that.
If they're timbrally right, that's what counts.
We do the best we can.
Right.
I expect, this is not, even though we picked 100 titles to do 5 a month, I don't expect it to go smoothly at first. I expect it to be things that come up, and we're going to react accordingly. But I am determined to try to keep the price down for people. So
Right.
it's not just kids, but I don't care if it's someone who's 80 years old.
No, you're right.
I want them to be able to enjoy this music.
$50 just is a lot of money. You know, I was over to Amoeba. You know, I bought 4 records. I think it was $100. You know, that's a lot of money.
Yeah. So that's what we're doing. And
Right.
I don't want to get anyone's feathers ruffled.
Yeah. Well, they were ruffled because I think the word was at first used that it wasn't sounding right. Those audiophile records weren't sounding right.
No, I think those are great, and I never. If
I don't know where it came from, but whatever. All right. I'm glad to be able to squash
now,
that.
I will tell you this: I've been through the CDs, which is a different story.
Yeah.
And well, here's my history. In 1993, I was producing the Rolling Stones album Voodoo Lounge, and they just signed to Virgin Records, and we were working at my studio in Mulholland with the bands, and we were doing overdubs, and at the same time, they were going to reissue the catalog through Virgin, and they wanted to remaster it, and they needed it. So Bob Ludwig got it, and he had no instructions or anything. He just got Exile and Sticky Fingers,
Right.
and he did what everyone else asked him to do, which is make it sound state of the art.
Right.
But you start voicing the bass down an octave, it no longer sounds like the way we remember it.
That's right.
So it came back. So, yeah, he did a marvelous job, but it didn't sound like Sticky Fingers. It didn't sound like Exile. So we talked to him like, what are we supposed to do? He said, well, try to find the production masters, the EQ'd production masters, and maybe they'll give us a clue where to go. And they don't exist.
Really?
Yeah. So then we start going through all the different.
Somebody owns them, I'm sure. Someone has them in their library.
Possibly.
Sure.
I mean, a lot of the stuff, those things were at Atlantic Records, and I know when they cleaned house, no one understood the value of these things. They could have cost them.
I know. Yeah.
No one ever could have foreseen that 50 years later we'd be having a discussion about.
That's how Rhino Records started. The business didn't want to bother with this old stuff. It's like when they tore down Penn Station in New York.
No, it's symptomatic of our culture. So whatever it is, we couldn't find them. So we started listening to CDs, and they're all really different. And then you get some from Europe, and some guy in a plant at midnight in Germany
That's right.
Needs more treble.
Oh, much more treble in Germany. Everything needs more treble in Germany. A lot more treble is good. The more the better.
So
and less bass too.
Less bass too. So, and that becomes the standard. And someone masters off of that. And so it was out of control. And no one could say what the definitive version was.
Unless you took an original pressing and listened to it the right way on a good system.
We answered an ad in Goldmine magazine, and the guy had Virgin vinyl original pressings of Exile and Sticky Fingers still in cellophane. So I had him come over to the house, and I wish I had one of those GoPros to capture the look on his face when he came in the room and making keys were set. It blew the guy's mind.
Of course it did.
Yeah. But we put it on, and it sounded magnificent.
Yeah.
So we called Ludwig back, and we said, look, we found the standard. In fact, just transfer this over. Get the best RW you can transfer.
Yeah.
And fortunately, Bob had too much pride to do that, but he was able to match the sound. And I still stand behind those 1993 remasters.
But no, those CDs sound pretty good.
CDs sound pretty good.
They
sound about, for CDs, they sound about
right.
But what I learned from that is, from my own experience, I don't go back and listen to like the current pressing of Nick of Time. That was 20 some years ago. That's an important record. And man, we sat there with Doug Sachs and we got that right. And it's a beautiful sound. Record, the vinyl on it still sounds amazing.
Yeah.
And that's where we put the time in. And when we walked out of that with a master that we were happy with, everyone shook hands and said, "This is our record."
That's it. Yeah.
So you got to respect that moment.
Of course.
The moment that everybody says that eureka, we got
That's
it.
right.
That's the artist's intention. And to go back and editorialize on it later for what may be fashion, you have to respect the artist's original intention. We were originally approached by HD Tracks to come up with high-def digital audio.
Right.
So that didn't exist. So something was going to have to be done to get there. So
Right.
I requisitioned the first Blue Note album I ever bought, which is Mode for Joe, and I put up. There's no multi-track on that.
Right.
Everything was mixed,
Two
directed.
tracks,
Two
right?
tracks
Yeah.
and quarter-inch tape.
You can't mess with it too much.
It
Doesn't need any messing.
It doesn't need any.
No, yeah.
However, if you put up just the unmastered analog tape, it doesn't feel the same. It was beautiful to listen to.
Yeah,
Because
I'm
you
sure
could-
Rudy
you could
did
tell-
things.
Yeah, of course
He equalized it, had
compressed
to.
And he EQ'd.
Right.
And if you hear it uncompressed, it doesn't sound as muscular.
That's right.
And you lose certain things. You pick up certain things that the back.
Right,
goes
comes forward.
back further.
And there's nothing
Back
wrong
further.
with doing a little bit of that to
No.
get the final product. The tape is not the holy grail. It is a work product for what you're doing.
Yeah. So then it became. I was able to apply the lessons we learned on the Stones 20 years earlier,
Yeah.
basically. And it was like, all right, let's get every version of this and listen to everything. And once again, I stand behind the virgin vinyl of the original pressing, for which we have at Iron Mountain. We have a lot of them.
Right.
And what we don't have, we've been able to get from collectors like
Collectors,
Armin
yeah,
Lewis,
sure.
you know,
Yeah.
who's out here and he's been supplying us with
Mm.
the original things. And there's a feel to it. And it's more important even to me than the frequency response.
Well, of course, it's how it feels.
How does this vinyl feel?
Right.
And how close can we get to that?
Right.
So great working with Alan Yoshida and Bertie, those are
Right.
the two guys.
Right. So now they're
Bertie-
cutting some there, and they're cutting, and you got Ian cutting some here.
We're cutting. Well, that's another phase going to vinyl.
Okay.
It's just getting something that learning how to recapture that sound.
Right.
That was something, and I know you can hear the difference from a digigital file and
Right.
analog.
It's not-
So
it's-
I'm not debunking that or anything.
Right,
I
right.
believe me, man. I know the difference because this is
You've
what I
been
do
there,
for a living,
yeah.
and I respect the difference. But the HD tracks, if you listen to those things, they sound pretty cool.
Yeah.
You know,
I'll have to
you hear
download
things
one.
that-
Yeah.
There are things that you're able to get in there that vinyl will take away.
Yeah.
You know, but so it was finding some balance between the feel of the vinyl and you get a little bit of depth. That's nice.